Welcome back to Combat Mission Shock Force 2, where we're going to take a look at the CV90. This was added in the NATO module for the Dutch, so we're specifically dealing with the CV9035NL, which is the export version of the Combat Vehicle 90 with the 35mm gun for the Netherlands. We're going to give the mechanised infantry platoon that goes along with the CV90 a quick once-over as well, but only very quickly because it's very similar to the dismounts for the Dutch light infantry platoon we've already covered. The CV90 is one of the more modern infantry fighting vehicles modelled in Shock Force 2. It was designed and produced for the Swedish Army, being a late Cold War design like the 90 in the name implies. The first vehicles were delivered in 1993, but since then it's been kept up to date with successive marques and found success on the export market. At the time of recording in the mid-2020s, it's not only in service with Sweden, but also Norway, Finland, Denmark, the Netherlands, Estonia, Slovakia, Switzerland and Ukraine. It's fought in Afghanistan, it's currently seeing combat service in Ukraine, and there are more countries lining up to buy it. The Dutch version in SF2 is a Mark III, which is the first fully digitised Mark, and it's equipped with a 35mm cannon. It was introduced to replace the aging YPR-765s for the mechanised infantry, but this process hasn't been completed by Shock Force 2's 2008, so we get both of them in-game. The overall layout is very conventional, driver and engine up front on the left and right respectively, turret behind them, passengers in the back. The CV9035 is principally armed with a 35mm Bushmaster cannon. This isn't a common caliber, but the advantage of an extra 5mm is that you can do some interesting things with the ammunition without losing the punch you would get from a 30mm round. Here, this takes the form of KETF rounds, standing for Kinetic Energy Time Fuse. It's an air-bursting round, it's ABHE. The gunner lasers a target to establish the range, this data is transferred to the round, and when it's fired it will detonate in the air at that distance. This makes KETF ammunition extremely effective at engaging infantry without overhead cover. It's much easier to inflict casualties than it is when firing contact-fused high explosive. The 35mm gun also fires an armour-piercing fin-stabilised discarding sabot round, which will eat old Soviet kit like BMPs for breakfast out past 1500 metres. It struggles with the frontal armour of the more modern Syrian tanks like the T-72, but rounds striking the turret face are going to do a lot of damage to external subsystems, and if the CV90 can get shots into the side or rear, then the tank's going to have a really bad day. It's also got a coaxial machine gun. The game labels this as an M240C. It's definitely an FN mag of some description, so the M240 designation isn't technically wrong, but it seems weird that it's using the American M number. But whatever, it's a 7.62 GPMG which does coaxial machine gun things. Both weapons are backed up by thermal optics and modern fire control systems. The 35mm main gun comes with 100 rounds each of KETF and APF SDS. The coax starts with a 700 round belt but apparently reloads with 250 round belts, which I assume is because it's faster and easier. There's another 2,000 rounds of 7.62 in the vehicle as a whole, so there's plenty available. Inside the turret we have the commander on the left under a cupola and a gunner on the right under the doghouse for the thermal imager. On either side of the turret face we have some smoke launchers. Interestingly, these are embedded in the turret structure rather than bolted on like they usually are. They'll deploy a non-thermal blocking smoke screen in an arc about 40 metres in front of the turret face. Obviously, because the CV90 has its own thermal optics, you can engage through your own smoke with some impunity if you're not up against enemy units that also have thermals. In terms of protection, the CV90 in-game is proof against the BMP-2's 2A24 APDS rounds, even at close range, which is a bit of a surprise. Bursts can do plenty of subsystem damage, but they don't seem to penetrate. Higher caliber nastiness and anything with a shaped charge will, though. The CV90 really doesn't want to get engaged by tanks, ATGMs, or even infantry with RPGs. Something that can help with avoiding unfavourable engagements is the CV90's mobility. It got a solid score on our vehicle mobility test with 447. As always, this is entirely arbitrary, but it's in the same kind of bracket as the Marder 1A5, the BMP-3M, and, interestingly, the T-72AB. Obviously, it's always hard to really quantify how useful mobility is, and it's going to be helping in positioning before an engagement starts rather than during one. Nobody's going to outrun any incoming fire. but we can confidently say there's nothing wrong with the CV90's mobility. It has space for 8 passengers in the back who get in and out via a rear ramp. This gives the CV90 enough carrying capacity to cart about the same kind of 8-man squads as used in the Dutch light infantry TOE, but they don't. The mech squads are 6 or 7 men strong. The 7-men squads have 3 AG-36 underbarrel grenade launchers, an FN mag, a Mini-Me LMG, and a couple of riflemen with C7A1s, which are the same base weapon for the UGLs. One of the 6-men squads exchanges the FN mag for the Arctic Warfare Super Magnum and drops a grenadier. The other one contains the platoon HQ, and it's the same except the squad leader is the platoon leader and he gets a C8 carbine. The notable difference compared to the light infantry is the missing Panzerfaust III and dedicated anti-tank specialist. The CV90s do each carry a Panzerfaust III launch unit and 4 missiles, and the dismounts can pick that up and take it with them, but they don't have it by default. As you'd expect, the CV90 also carries plenty of extra ammo to keep its dismounts going. We just mentioned the Panzerfaust III and the rockets. It's also got 88 40mm grenades for the AG-36s and over 2,000 rounds of both 7.62 and 5.56. So that's a quick look at the CV9035NL, along with a tiny dip into their dismounts. This platoon is definitely at the higher end of capabilities in Shock Force 2. The only place it really falls short is in anti-tank potential. The platoon doesn't have any guided anti-tank weapons, the infantry AT is limited to 4 launchers and a total of 16 missiles, and while the CV90 is theoretically capable of dealing with enemy tanks, it's a dicey proposition, and that requires getting onto the flanks and getting lucky. This is a deficiency that's been corrected in later versions of the CV90, but it's something the 2008 Shock Force 2 version is stuck with, so good use of combined arms is really important. CV90 platoons are going to need support from friendly tanks or infantry ATGM teams if there's a risk they might be going up against enemy armour. That's not going to be a problem when they tackle the platoon patrol. I'll leave a link to that down below when that goes live. I think the CV90 platoon is going to do really well. The vehicles are going to have to do a lot of the heavy lifting, but they've certainly got the chops to do so, and more than anything, I think that KTF air bursting ammunition is going to be decisive. But we'll see. As always, hope you all enjoyed this video and found it interesting. If you'd like to see these videos early and support the channel, you can do so via Patreon and YouTube memberships. Whether you do or not, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.